So look, on behalf of MBBC and Petrofac, I'm delighted to welcome you to this virtual event this morning. It's great to sort of see so many of you on the call. There's clearly a lot of interest in the topic, and I'd like to, on behalf of the MBBC, give our thanks to Alex, Guillaume, Sam and the team at Petrofac for hosting this event. If I may, before I hand over to the Petrofac guys, let me just give you a couple of bits of news which you may or may not have picked up on elsewhere. Firstly, and pretty importantly for us actually, Mauritania's new ambassador to the UK, Wood El Haj Sidia, arrived in the UK a couple of weeks ago. He's well versed in matters British. He has an MBA in banking from the University of London. He's got extensive international experience with the UN, and that brings with it a very international perspective. So he's clearly looking beyond the horizon of Mauritania itself. Pleased to say that he's already well aware of the MBBC and what we do. And although he's not yet presented his credentials at the Palace, as you'd expect, we've already reached out to him to engage him and get him involved in future MBBC activities and events. And the second piece of news for the more adventurous of you is that Nouakchott International Airport reopened a week or 10 days ago, and regular commercial flights have started. So if you want to go into Nouakchott, you can now book on Air France to get into the country. But our understanding is that if you want to go in, you must present a negative test certificate for COVID-19 that's issued by an approved laboratory dated less than 3 days prior to your arrival. So of course you can get into Mauritania on that basis. The downside is that when you return to the UK, if that's where you come back to, you will still need to quarantine for 2 weeks. We're monitoring the situation quite carefully because, as many of you will know, we've put a save the date out for our intended trade mission from the 8th to the 12th of March next year. None of us have got a crystal ball, but we very much hope to be able to run that trade mission as scheduled. So we'll keep you posted on that as and when things develop. That's all I wanted to say by way of introduction. So I'd now like to pass over to the guys from Petrofac. We're going to be hearing from Guillaume Alcaraz, the Business Development Manager at Petrofac, Martin Layfield, Asset Solutions Director, and Patty Eade, who's Head of Training at Petrofac. I'm sure they'll introduce themselves, but that gives you a heads up as to who you're going to hear from. So with that, Alex, I will hand over to you.
Thank you very much, and hopefully you can all hear me. Please remain on mute while we're speaking, just purely because there might be some feedback, and we've got a lot of people on the line now. So please remain on mute. There is time at the end, you'll see, for Q&A, so we can do that towards the end, and we'll try and get it done with enough time. I appreciate we've only got an hour, or actually 55 minutes now to get through this, so hopefully this will be useful. We always like to start our meetings with a safety moment, so I shall start with one here, and it's about the everyday making us blind, familiarity. So here's a little game. Can you find the mistake? Right, okay, time's up. So what you probably can't see, because you're looking at the numbers, is that there are two the. Can you find the mistake? And it's a very simple thing. Your eye doesn't see it due to familiarity. So let's try another one. How many F's in that sentence? There are 6. And the reason you may have got it wrong is the word of, or result of years off and experience of years. Because we are used to pronouncing it as of, experience of years, your mind doesn't see the F in it, so it's off years, so there's 6. So again, that's useful now. You might spot something wrong here as well. Again, we're very used to seeing our logo, maybe some of you less so, but you can see that it's spelled incorrectly. Should be not Petrofac, but Petrofac. So this familiarity blindness can be a real issue on a work site, in everyday life, if you're doing any work around the house. and you see it every day. So you have to almost stop and reset your mind on how you can actually see things. So, you know, another common example is if you wear glasses and you can't find them, and you're searching the house and the office for your glasses, and eventually they're on your head. Right? So it's that familiarity. I don't know how often you see a pull or a push sign and you do the opposite. And again, if someone else does it in front of you, or you've done it previously the wrong way, then your brain is wired that you'll end up doing it the wrong way again, which isn't great. And normally you might be okay if you keep doing it. You become more blind. Doesn't matter particularly, but of course you might have unintended consequences at one point. And while that's just a cup of spilled coffee, it could be more serious on a construction site or somewhere a little bit more dangerous. So what can be done to avoid it? You know, make sure that the signs are more visible. Make sure you frequently change those signs, because after a while you'll stop seeing them. And what can we do is speak up when you see people doing the wrong thing, if they're ignored. That's sort of safety-based behavioural training, but also just be a little bit more mindful. Try and be a little bit more present in where you are. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Guillaume, who's going to speak to us now around Petrofac's footprint and ambitions in Africa.
Thank you, Alex. Hello, everyone. As said, my name is Guillaume Alcaraz, with a strong focus within the Africa continent. And let's have a look on our experience and our ambition within Africa. First, a small reminder of who is Petrofac. Petrofac is a leader service provider within the international energy industry. And our life cycle of services is spanning from the field detail design, FEED, EPCs, operation and maintenance, and up to the commissioning phases. And all of these services are supported by our training capabilities that we could do remotely or in situ. It will be developed a bit more in deeper by Patty later on. But bear in mind that all along these kind of services, we are supported by our training capabilities. We have several decades of experience, but experience in the past, but we are looking into the futures by combining this experience with the new technology. This kind of new technology give us the assurance to deliver more and more accurately the services, being more also safely oriented, more efficient, and also drive the cost a bit down. And additionally, we are quite well known for our flexibilities, commercially speaking. We are able to address from reimbursable basis up to a lump sum basis. But based on the climate environment these days, we're also thinking to incorporate some KPI related to the climate change, for instance, incorporating the kind of KPI related to the carbon reduction or to the energy consumption. That will support mainly all our clients in their journey regarding their target in terms of carbon reduction. And we are also well known as a company being able to deliver any kind of services in a harsh environment. We have a track record. This track record has been developed throughout 39 years, and we are used to manage $2 to $3 billion procurement. To achieve that, we have a long-standing relation with the usual key players and OEM, and we are quite also aware about the trend they are developing within the industry. We have 31 offices across 29 countries with almost 12,000 people. But as I mentioned earlier, we're also focusing on the journey in terms of climate change, and we have been recently ranked as number 20 among 250 contractors regarding the renewable energy industry. As I said, renewable industry, climate change. Recently, our CEO, Emanas Faria, just announced our target in terms of climate contribution, and this target as net zero by 2030. And these targets will be achieved by 2025 for EPS, which is the department related to any kind of services delivered to our customer or to the industry, and ENCs, which is the project department, engineering and construction, by 2030. To achieve that, we'll first reduce, transform, and then enable. In terms of social, it's quite well known that, say, the oil and gas industry and maybe the energy industry is not well diversified towards the female population. So it has been decided by 2030 to have 30% of our women in senior roles. And to achieve that, we will reinforce the transfer of knowledge and the recruitment of women as per this target. The governance will run the best-in-class compliance. Simple like that. Wherever we are working with, or wherever we will work, we will apply our business practices, and all of that will be embedded with our code of conduct. There is absolutely no derogation. We will apply a full ethical and compliance policies. So Petrofac, let's call that we have three kind of departments. It will be easier for everyone. One of it is the engineering and construction, which contribute to 80%. The engineering and construction is focusing to the engineering, procurement, construction, installation, and commissioning services. But more often, we are seeing that contracts are also linked to the operation and maintenance of all kinds of services after the installation of the asset. And that's are linking into the engineering and production services department, which focus on the front-end engineering, full detailed design, operation and maintenance, training capabilities, and the commissioning services. And this department is contributing to the 16% in terms of revenue. The last one, which is the integrated energy services, which is where we are investing, or for instance, we are leasing FPSO for our customer and we operate and maintain the FPSO on our own with a complete different commercial model. It's contributing to 4% of revenue. But in terms of footprint, it was quite well known that Petrofac was not well present in Africa. More likely, since 1990, we were present in Algeria with a strong focus on EPC jobs and kind of services. But it has been decided by end of 2018, beginning of 2019, to have a complete focus on Africa. So on this basis, in 2019, we opened the first offices in Congo to address customers over there. But then, since then, the Libya and the Mozambique has been open, Libya has been reopened, and by the end of the year, Senegal and Mauritania will be fully open and fully operational. In 2021, Ghana, Gabon, and Uganda will be also open. I would like to re-emphasize that within 3 years, we are opening almost more than seven countries. So to have a strong understanding on how does it work, the local content, first, we need to liaise with the national oil company in order to align or to define the objective between both. We need also to liaise with the regulator to have a complete, clear understanding of the context for the coming, not year, but years, 10 to 15 years, to support how the industry and how we could bring the best-in-class value. Absolutely, and it is also, we have a customer-centric approach to understand how we'll deliver as per the international standard and what they want to be, what they're expecting us to do. And the last one is how we will engage with the local actors, not only the population or the workforce, but also the local contractors. And on that point, I would like to emphasize what we have done in Iraq for our BP project. We have been initially with the contract, we have outsourced several numbers of jobs to local contractors. But when we have outsourced these kind of jobs, we train all these local contractors in order they will be quite aware about the end user, in that case, BP process. Not only the commercial process or procurement process, but also anything related to the safety process and the execution and standards. At the end of the period of 3 to 4 years, these contractors were able to the end users, BP. And our added value was passing the knowledge to these local contractors and then they will be able to be fully independent and to deliver as per BP standards.
Thank you, Guillaume. Hello, everybody. Martin Layfield, Asset Solutions Director here at Petrofac. I'm just going to give you a very brief run through with the time we have available of our digital journey. that we've been on for the past couple of years within Petrofac, and how it's affecting our operations and indeed our execution and delivery of projects and operations into our customers globally. A bit of context to start with. You can see here on the left-hand side some data that's been accumulated from multiple sources, which basically tells us that our industry, the energy industry, oil and gas industry, hasn't been terribly efficient when it comes to projects and operations traditionally. And clearly digital has a significant role to play in correcting much of that moving forwards. So we started our journey with a process of understanding how can we positively affect our operations, our projects, our execution of work into our customers to improve project delivery, uptime of assets, reduction of costs, more efficient asset management operations. So really set some highly tangible ambitions that were really going to improve the way that we deliver our work and can bring positive change for our clients internationally. So where do we start? So effectively, we began a process which included a lot of engagements right across our own workforce, and indeed a lot of sessions with our key customers to really understand what will it take to go on a journey that will achieve some of those objectives. So in effect, we created a range of transformation roadmaps, as we called them, which were all linked to achieving some of those tangible outcomes that I've just mentioned. And I think key to this process was the engagement of the workforce and clients across all ranges of personnel, from particularly the people that we were going to utilise technology offshore. So the workforce, not just seniors within the business, and that actually helped in the adoption process as we move forwards, because those users of the technology really embraced the change, which of course is always quite a difficult thing to achieve in business generally. And then we took our findings to the board to achieve buy-in from them, and also to achieve the investment that we needed to continue this journey. And out of all of that, in very basic terms, we developed a number of minimum viable products that we would develop and invest in and take to the market, which you can see across the bottom of the screen there. And they include everything from technologies and innovations that will deliver projects through to innovations that will deliver smarter operations. And it's the latter that I'm going to focus in on for the rest of this presentation. So in the operational context, we looked at this through the lens of what does a digitally enabled plant look like, but at the same time, one which could be very modular in terms of functionality. So we looked at everything that covered smarter mobilisation of our personnel, more advanced data analytics and measurement of performance, digital twin and digital planning, workflow management in particular, through to better digitally enabled workforce offshore in the form of connected worker. So with respect to mobilisation, we created an application called Petrofac Go. Now traditionally, with respect to mobilisation of contractors offshore and our personnel offshore, that was a very labour intensive process of contacting contractors to find out when they were available, communicating mobilisation plans, communicating any changes in information relating to hotel bookings or health and safety notifications, etc., etc. Very labour intensive, pretty much involved telephone calls on a daily basis from a fairly sizable team out of our office in Aberdeen in the context of the UK. So we changed that by introducing this application, and in doing so we were able to push out notifications and communications on a far more efficient basis. What this has proved actually in the last few months is how valuable it has been during lockdown, because obviously, as everyone will appreciate, there's been a very dynamic situation with respect to the COVID restrictions which has affected our workforce, affected the movement of our workforce. So this has really come into its own in the last few months, enabling us to communicate very effectively, very efficiently, particularly on matters associated with health and safety. With respect to our digital twin and connected worker technology, what you see here in this slide is a representation of a journey that we've been on with BP in the North Sea. And we started this journey by working in digital execution for inspection activity on specific equipment types, small bore tubing, EX inspection to start with, and we've gradually been growing the execution across other equipment types as we move forwards. So we started by developing work plans and workflows that were specifically linked into their digital twin in this instance, rather than our own digital twin, which affected better onshore planning of work offshore. And then through the use of tablets and headsets, we digitalized workflows and work procedures, which had the effect of removing paper-based systems and very manual activities for our workforce offshore. That enabled them in turn to execute inspection activities far more efficiently. And then finally, we digitalized the reporting of those activities into an in-house tool of ours called BuildMe, which automated the entire reporting process, particularly enabling the identification of anomalies very quickly to enable insight to action. And as you can see from the statistic there, through this example with BP, we've increased the efficiency between 100 and 200% through worker productivity in effect. Data, of course, is a fundamental component to all of this. If data isn't very good, or there's weak links in the chain when it comes to data management, then a lot of this technology will fail in effect. So we're quite fortunate that we have an in-house tool called BuildMe. Build Maintenance Excellence is the origin of the title, where we have a number of modules for the management of key data, which allows data to be managed in an integrated environment, everything from the asset register through to the risk-based inspection and maintenance strategies for a particular asset. So it effectively allows a clear line of sight for maintenance planning and inspection routines, and gives one version of the truth when it comes to data. It also gives us the ability to stage that data. So from a quality control and auditing perspective, it allows us to manage that data prior to linking into ERP systems, which will then take control of work execution and work planning. So data, the core of data and the quality of data cannot be overlooked when it comes to digital execution of work. And then finally, Petrolytics is our web-based predictive maintenance analytical tool. It has a front end to the tool, which gives the user the ability to see some very key performance metrics across the asset. And the front end of this can be customized according to our customers' requirements. So it's a web-based predictive maintenance analytics tool. So it's using AI and machine learning in effect to identify anomalies, which gives you the ability to drill down into anomalies and see the behavior of certain parts of the equipment as you're seeing changes in behavior in how you would expect the equipment to perform. In effect, what we're trying to do here is predict a failure before it actually happens, so you can intervene and take proactive asset management action before a failure actually occurs and you lose production and thus revenue in effect. So what we're doing here is looking at a trip probability, and again we can drill down into that at a very granular level and understand what is causing or what is the root cause of that trip probability before we can take action. And then, in effect, what we're doing is creating insights. So by creating insights, we can then identify actions. And recent developments of this have included us automating action choices. So based upon a particular insight which has been generated from that trip probability, we can give some choices around what actions that we can take, which we think will enable us to head off that trip before it actually occurs. And furthermore, that action can then link into an ERP system such that you're generating all the logistical requirements, the maintenance activities, etc., that are needed to generate the work packs to execute the work in a very seamless way. Results from this, and we've been doing this on our own assets, our own duty holder assets for some time now. The results have been extremely rewarding for us. As you can see from some of the stats here, which I won't go into in detail, yeah, we've seen a real turnaround in uptime, avoidance of trips, avoidance of over maintenance, and far more enablement of risk-centered principles in the way we manage the assets. The upshot has been, in monetary terms, $2.7 million of savings over a 6-month period just on one asset. So it really does highlight the benefits of far more proactive asset management through AI and machine learning. Thank you. I will now pass on to Patty.
Good afternoon, everyone. As my colleagues mentioned, our group delivers services through our divisions ENC, EPS, and IES to help our clients design and build oil and gas facilities, operate, maintain, and manage those facilities while developing training, upskilling their personnel through Petrofac training services. And this is where I come in. My name is Patty Eid, and I'm the Global Head of Petrofac Training Services. PTS have provided training services for over 40 years, starting from 1972. So we do have a very rich history. Since then, PTS have trained over 1 million trainees worldwide at our training centers or at the client's premises. Our 10th training center was jointly developed with Takatuf in Oman, and recently we inaugurated back in 2018. Our PTS delivery model, what does it consist of? Well, it's largely specialized in the areas of management development, drilling and well service, production, operations and maintenance, and health and safety training. Our delivery model is based on 3 main pillars, which are: for consultancy, this is where PTS supports its customers in competency assessments, setting training roadmaps, and building the necessary training infrastructure. For delivery, PTS develops the training courses, whether on-the-job training, enrollment at training centers, or digital e-learning training, in line with international requirements and national training programs. In competency, PTS ensures via its delivery assurance systems and competency management systems. For example, we use in-house software and we use our e-learning arm, which is Oilenium. So whether at the client's premises or at our centers, our courses are accredited by several awarding bodies from the oil and gas industry and education, all depending on of course, on the applicable regulations and clients' requirements. So Petrofac as a group has been actively present in Africa continent since over 20 years now. Training has also been a key element supporting our footprint, where several training projects have been undertaken for Sonatrach in Algeria, NPDC in Nigeria, in Sudan, and in Libya. And most recently this year for Metanex in Egypt. Training projects varied between designing and establishing training centers, upgrading existing training centers to support local communities, delivering training courses, developing training curriculums, and implementing digital training systems for client staff. The key element here is bringing in-country value wherever we go. Here's an example where Petrofac Skills Training Center is showcased in Algeria. So Petrofac opened its Algeria office in 1999 and secured its first major contract in 2000, the Ohanet gas development project. Since then, Petrofac continued to grow its presence with a number of major EPC contract awards with Sonatrach, which led to the development of the local engineering office, later supplemented by our facilities at Hassi Masoud, being the main logistics, procurement, and administration support center in the south of the country. Underpinning our presence in Algeria is our commitment to support the country's nationalization program. In 2019, Petrofac re-inaugurated the Hassi Masoud Construction Skills Training Center following the upgrade of the facilities. The center can now train up to 400 delegates annually to develop the next generation of Algeria's oil and gas industry workforce across 5 technical disciplines: instrumentation, electrical, mechanical, pipe fabrication, and welding. Other local community initiatives were also undertaken in upgrading a training center at the Insala town and setting a craft center at Merk area to qualify local high school graduates and facilitated English language courses for engineers through the British Council. This focus on developing the local workforce allowed Petrofac achieving more than 86% of its total in-country labor force available from towns close to the project's operations. The Petrofac Skills Training Center in Hassi Masoud includes modern, well-equipped, air-conditioned classrooms and large open workshops with state-of-the-art industry equipment. The curriculum covers specialist trade areas such as instrumentation, again, electrical, mechanical, pipework, welding, and all with strong emphasis on HSE. This provides the trainees with the theoretical knowledge and essential practical skills they need to work in their chosen professional discipline upon graduation. Here are some insights of the facilities: the main workshop area for trades with modern classrooms, main workshops for instrumentation and piping with training simulators and testing skits. This is a case study for a training coordination project delivered in 2012 and 2014 to Sonatrach at the Merk project, where PTS, Petrofac Training Services, was responsible to develop training plans, manuals, and coordinating vendor and training activities at site. 150 delegates were trained under this project. This is a case study for developing a dedicated training center in Benghazi, Libya, for the National Oil Company back in 2013 that was intended to raise the standards of vocational education to fill the skills gap of national technicians in the oil and gas industry. PTS performed training needs analysis and developed the business plan and financial analysis for the center. In Nigeria, this is another case study for developing a dedicated training center in Benin City, Nigeria, for the Nigerian Petroleum Development Corporation back in 2014. That was intended to deliver upstream oil and gas training services in country. PTS performed a training needs analysis, again with all the center design and curriculum development. This is our latest flagship center, TPO in Oman. Petrofac has been working in Oman for more than 3 decades and have been supporting the Sultanate's oil and gas industry since 1988 to design, build, operate, maintain oil and gas facilities, as well as developing local workforce competence and generating in-country value. In this regard, several projects were undertaken by Petrofac to ensure national workforce development, training and competence solutions, delivery through our technical training facilities. Most recently, Petrofac joint ventured with Takatuf, which again is a subsidiary of Oman Oil Company, to create a leading technical training center of excellence, which will accelerate the development of skilled and competent technicians for the oil and gas industry, with a capacity of up to 1,000 trainees on 18-24 months program, and a target to address the country's desperate need for developing 30,000 and more Omanis into the oil and gas sector over the next 10 years. At TPO, we utilize state-of-the-art workshops and simulators to replicate specific areas of oil and gas operations. We provide delegates with practical and realistic hands-on training blended with theory-based classroom sessions for an overall approach to learning that is both comprehensive and immersive. This approach led to efficient and cost-effective development of personnel to recognize competence standards, resulting in a significant reduction in time to work site autonomy for all trainees. So TPO allows the trainees to achieve NVQ level 1 for foundation level skills, NVQ level 2 for performing engineering operations, and NVQ level 3 diploma in processing operations, electrical maintenance, mechanical maintenance, and instrumentation maintenance. TPO was designed to ensure fast-track outcomes that can be proven at worksite by the trainees. The centers gives the trainees significant overview of the following key operational activities, such as pre-commissioning, commissioning, startup, shutdowns, routing operations, emergencies, and maintenance and troubleshooting. There are 4 training simulators custom built by Petrofac to the same industrial standards as the actual facilities encountered at the worksite, which allows a more realistic training program. This is a TPO workshops, TPO control room simulator, and CBT rooms. Here we have the 4 training simulators at TPO: upstream plant simulator for oil, upstream plant simulator gas, downstream plant simulator, and utility plant simulator. In Altens in Aberdeen, we have Petrofac has always had a solid presence in the UK with 4 training centers operated. So we have Aberdeen Marine Training Centre, Altens Survival Training Center, Montrose Fire Training Center, and Emergency Response Service Center. Altens Survival Training Center was acquired by Petrofac in 2004. Our Survival Center was originally purpose-built for the Robert Gordon Institute of Technology, RGIT, Montrose, in 2002, and it pioneered survival training. Today, we continue to invest in these exceptional training facilities in line with clients' changing needs and industry requirements. Okay, training conforms to rigorous industry accreditation, as you well know, standards, and is delivered by our highly proficient instructors. In the slide, you can see an overview of the facilities and main courses developed at the center. Now, bringing digital together. Petrofac acquired SkillsVX in 2011 and Olenium in 2018 to establish the digital capability in competence management and e-learning training. SkillsVX is Petrofac's training and competency management software designed to map and manage workforce competency specifically for the oil and gas sector. Olenium delivers computer-based training products of the highest standard designed to support the development of a competent workforce. SkillsVX and Olenium focus on delivering high-quality, innovative digital training solutions tailored to fit our clients' requirements. Our offering combines the software and the content to ensure the protection of people, environment, assets, reputation, and ultimately minimize the risk to operations. Our portfolio includes an e-learning library of more than 200 courses, custom-built e-learning modules, digital classroom materials, as well as client and equipment-specific animation simulations. Here we have some photos of our e-learning digital training, technical courses and HSSE. We have virtual reality training courses as well. In Nigeria, this is a case where it's a case study for implementing SkillsVX in Nigeria for the Nigerian Petroleum Development Corporation in 2014, where SkillsVX was used to complete self-assessment and training of the client staff and allowed NPDC to develop the competency framework across its operations. And with that, thank you very much for attending this webinar.
Yes, thanks very much, Alex. Thanks to thanks to all three of you, you guys actually, to Guillaume, Martin, and to Patty for that really comprehensive look over, what Petrofac offers